It was the summer of 2021 in Essex, a working-class suburb of Baltimore, Maryland. The streets were hot and heavy, the kind of night where the air feels sticky and thick. Police officers on patrol noticed an old car with fake license plates and expired registration, a routine traffic stop, the kind they carried out dozens of times a week. But this stop would be different. As the officers approached, an overwhelming smell hit them. It wasn't the smell of garbage, or rotting food, or even a dead animal. It was heavier, sweeter, unmistakable. The smell of human decomposition.
Ma'am?
I did.
Unroll the whole thing. What? Open that up. Open that up. What the f***? Get the f*** in! Put your hands up!
Behind the wheel was a 33-year-old woman named Nicole Johnson, nervous, fidgety, avoiding eye contact. She claimed the smell came from dirty laundry, packed into bags in the trunk. The officers pressed her to open it. She resisted, shaking her head, stalling for time. And then she delivered a phrase that would echo across America. "Y'all gonna see me on the news," making my big debut. When the suitcase was unzipped, inside was the body of a 7-year-old girl. Nearby, in a plastic bag, lay another small body. This wasn't just a traffic stop. It was the discovery of one of the most haunting child murder cases in Baltimore County history. The victims were 7-year-old Jocelyn Johnson and her 5-year-old brother, Larry O'Neill III. They weren't Nicole's children. They were her niece and nephew. In late 2019, their mother, Nicole Johnson, was in crisis. Struggling with poverty, joblessness, and unstable housing, she made a decision that would change everything. She left her children with her sister Nicole, believing it was a temporary solution, maybe even a better one. But no formal custody papers were signed. No court oversight, no social services, no school alerts. Jocelyn and Larry quietly vanished from the system. Jocelyn and Larry had once been like any other kids. Jocelyn was energetic, curious, already reading above her age level. Larry loved cartoons and toy cars, often running around with boundless energy. They had friends in their neighborhood, routines, even small dreams about what they wanted to be when they grew up. But when their mother handed them over to Nicole, everything changed. They were pulled out of that world. No school, no friends, no doctors. Slowly, they became invisible. Nicole herself was a product of hardship. Born and raised in Baltimore, she grew up in a family marked by instability and conflict. She struggled with jobs, with housing, with relationships. By her early 30s, she had no steady income, no fixed address, and no sense of direction. She floated between cheap motels, acquaintances' couches, and rundown apartments. Neighbors and acquaintances described her as volatile, quick-tempered, harsh, and isolated. She was the kind of person who often had minor run-ins with the law, expired tags, fake documents, unpaid tickets. A woman living on the margins, always one step from trouble. And this was the woman entrusted with 2 young children. In the spring of 2020, the first tragedy struck. Jocelyn, weak and hungry, tried to take food from the fridge. For Nicole, it triggered rage. She lashed out at the 7-year-old. The girl fell, hit her head on the floor, and died. Nicole didn't call for help. She didn't panic, at least not in the way most people would. Instead, she stuffed Jocelyn's small body into a suitcase, zipped it up, and placed it in the trunk of her car. And there it stayed, for more than a year. Everywhere she drove, through rain, through heat, through the changing seasons, the suitcase with Jocelyn's body was with her. In May 2021, just over a year later, Larry also died. The boy had a wound on his leg. It became infected. Without medical care, it worsened. Nicole later claimed he simply went to sleep and didn't wake up. She placed his body in a trash bag right next to the suitcase holding his sister. At that moment, both children were gone. And still, no one noticed. This is perhaps the most disturbing part of the case, how easily these children disappeared. Schools. The pandemic in 2020 shut down in-person learning. Many children were absent. Many fell through the cracks. Jocelyn and Larry's absence raised no alarms. Doctors. No medical checkups. No mandatory visits. Neighbors. Nicole kept them hidden. Few people even saw the kids. Their mother. Deshale occasionally tried to reach out, but Nicole ignored her. And so, 2 children vanished, and the world didn't notice. Here the questions get darker. Why didn't Dashiell go further? Why didn't she report them missing, involve social services, or show up at Nicole's door? One explanation is fear. In poor neighborhoods, many parents dread child protective services. Reporting a problem can mean losing children forever. Perhaps she told herself that by staying silent, she was protecting them. But there's another possibility. Maybe it was easier not to look. Maybe she convinced herself the kids were fine, that they were better off with Nicole. Maybe she preferred denial to the painful truth. And as weeks turned into months and months into years, her silence became part of the tragedy. On July 28, 2021, when Nicole was pulled over, the smell was undeniable. Officers saw flies, maggots. They demanded the trunk be opened. Nicole resisted. She insisted it was just laundry. She stalled. And then she smirked and said, "Y'all gonna see me on the news, making my big debut." When the suitcase was unzipped, the horror inside silenced everything. Autopsy reports later revealed at 7 years old, Jocelyn weighed just 18 pounds. At 5, Larry weighed 21. Their frail bodies told a story of prolonged malnutrition and neglect. Nicole was arrested on the spot. Investigators spent years piecing together the timeline of events. Where she had driven, where she had stayed, who, if anyone, had seen the children alive in recent months. In August 2024, Nicole pleaded guilty. By February 2025, she was sentenced to life in prison, effectively 50 years behind bars. In court, she was described as cold and detached. She covered her face with her hands, but never apologized. Officially, Nicole Johnson was declared sane. The psychiatric evaluation concluded she understood her actions and could be held accountable. But her behavior still defies explanation. She lived for more than a year with 2 dead children in her trunk. Most killers, even the most disturbed, try to hide bodies, bury them, burn them, conceal the evidence. Nicole didn't. She ignored the smell, the insects, the danger of being discovered. To some, that looked like a total break from reality, but the court chose to see it differently. And here lies the unsettling truth. Perhaps she was deliberately declared sane, because a verdict of insanity would have meant psychiatric treatment, not prison. Treatment that might end one day. Prison ensures punishment. By calling her sane, the system guaranteed she would face the maximum possible sentence. The story of Nicole Johnson is not just about murder. It is about silence, indifference, and systemic failure. 2 children vanished, and no one raised the alarm. Their mother didn't fight for them. Schools didn't notice their absence. Doctors didn't check in. Neighbors didn't speak up. And all the while, Nicole drove around with their bodies in her car. Her words, "You'll see me on the news, making my big debut," became the chilling symbol of this case. She did make the news, but not as she imagined. Jocelyn and Larry didn't just die at the hands of their aunt. They died because no one around them fought to save them. And even now, though the case is officially closed and Nicole Johnson has been sentenced, it leaves more questions than answers. Why didn't their mother fight harder? Why did the system fail to notice their disappearance? And what was truly happening in Nicole's mind as she lived with their bodies for months? We will probably never know. But perhaps the darkest question is this: how many stories like this remain hidden, right now, around us?